The purpose of this video is to provide a review and install tips for the Senville Leto Series 9000 BTU mini split AC unit that I installed in my kitchen a few weeks ago. So stay tuned. Now, like I said in my intro, I installed this unit about 3 weeks ago and we've been running it ever since. I'll have a link in the description to all the products I talk about, including this AC unit as well. Now, this is the 9000 BTU unit from Senville, and it's their Leto series. And it's a very quiet, but yet budget-friendly mini split unit. One of the things that attracted me to the unit is it did get pretty good reviews, and it's fairly DIY. And we'll get into the installation, but the installation does require a fairly advanced DIY person. Now, after running it for a few weeks, as you can hear, it is on right now, and it is very whisper quiet. And hopefully it stays like that, but we really like the fact that it is very quiet and has a remote that we can just kind of leave on the wall there, and it just makes very little noise, and it obviously is very easy to use. And the outside unit is just as quiet pretty much as the inside unit. You don't hear that typical grind of an AC compressor, and you probably can barely hear, other than maybe the wind noise on the microphone, you can't hardly hear the thing running. So we really like the fact that it's economical, it's really quiet, and if the longevity is decent, I'd say this is going to be a win overall. Now, because this is somewhat DIY, there are videos out there on YouTube already on how to install this. So I'm not going to do a detailed installation tutorial on this. I'm just going to give you an overview of the intricacies of my installation and some recommendations of how to do it. I'm also going to provide a video from a really good, probably the best resource out there I saw on a detailed installation of this unit. And that's going to be in the video description, and I will refer to that as my reference video. And he's very detailed and he does a good job on all aspects of the installation. But let me give you my installation steps, which are a little bit different order than that reference video. All right, so let's talk about installation. Step one of the install process is pretty obvious, but it's determine where you want the unit to go. Now, normally you would want to install this on an exterior wall. So when I was looking at this room, this is going to work. The kitchen's not going to work because I don't have any exterior wall where you want to mount it up high in a central location and within 6 inches of the ceiling. As you can see, the kitchen, there's no real area to do that. But here, our back door, this would have been an ideal place to put the head unit, maybe center it along the sliding door, and that would have provided good airflow into the room. But you not only have to consider where the head unit is going to go on the interior, but also where the compressor is going to go has to be kind of close by on the outside. And as you can see, I could have put the line set right up above the doorway there, but I would have had to put the compressor probably somewhere right here, which I wasn't too thrilled with. This is my back patio. It's kind of close to my little grill area there, and I just thought it would detract from our patio over here, and I just didn't want to put the compressor right there. So instead of mounting the compressor over here, I figured it would be better to mount the compressor, the outside unit, over around this corner here where this fence is, which is obviously where I put it because you can't really see this wall and it's kind of out of the way. So that's where I wanted my compressor unit to go. So now on the inside, if my compressor unit was on this wall, I would have either had to put it where that shelf is up there above my laundry area, but that little laundry nook area would have probably been a little bit too in the corner and out of the way and wouldn't have provided the airflow that I'm looking for. So what I ended up settling on is a little bit of a compromise. I've installed it on an interior wall, but it's only about 4 or 5 feet from the exterior wall here. The line set has to go inside of the room where this door is. Now, what is that? Well, that doorway simply leads down to our cellar stairs, and it's just a kind of a utility room that's all paneled, so we didn't really care to mess up the look of this room. So therefore, I ran the line set through this room and around up here, and then out the exterior wall over here. So once I determine where I want both the inside and the exterior unit to be roughly located, the next step was to run the dedicated electrical circuit for the exterior unit, which is going to be ultimately where the power goes into. So let's take a look at that. So on the outside of my house, here is the AC disconnect box that I wired to a dedicated breaker in my circuit panel. Now, on the reference video that I showed you, they did that on the last step. Well, that's fine, but the reason I'm saying to do it on the first step is because this is the one thing you may need professional help for. If you're not comfortable working in your panel and adding a new circuit to it and then running wires to your house to get to this disconnect box, then you probably need to call an electrician and have them do it for you. Let me show you how I did mine. I already had this box right here. Now, what is this? This is not an outlet. This is actually an inlet. This is for a generator inlet. In case I ever lose power to my house, I can roll my generator up right here and just plug it in. Basically, I can get the voltage of the generator into my house without having to run cables through doors. So as you can see, this outlet right here is on the other side of that generator inlet, and that little whip goes through the wall, and that's the circuit that goes to my mini split disconnect box. Now, back by my circuit panel here, it's about 20 feet away, this little generator transfer switch that allows me to hook that generator inlet to one of my circuits in my panel. I think I have it hooked to the fridge or something, but that's not important. What I'm using this for is the conduit. There are two wires in here that connect this transfer switch to that inlet that I just showed you. And what I did was I isolated one of the wires, I think the neutral, and I hooked 3 new wires to it, a replacement neutral wire for that, and then a hot neutral for my new circuit. And I used that existing neutral wire to pull the other 3 wires back through, thereby replacing the neutral wire on there and pulling 2 new wires for my new circuit. Once I got those new wires to the transfer switch here, in which, you know, I can take this out and I pulled them, then I added this whip into my panel and ran those wires into there, and then I was able to wire up this new 15 amp breaker onto my panel there. So I had all that wiring done in one shot. Now keep in mind that this is the 9000 BTU 115 volt unit. This can run on a 15 amp circuit, but if you have the 12,000 or above, that will require maybe a 20 amp or higher, so make sure you consult the manual for your electrical requirements. So you might think once you get that dedicated circuit run for your AC disconnect box, the next logical step would be to start working on the outside unit. But I disagree. I think the inside unit is step 3. Now, I say that because, number one, the outside unit, there's some variability to where you can run the line set and where you want to hang the actual compressor. You can hang it a little bit higher, you can hang it a little bit lower, you can move the line set over a little bit, but the inside unit has to be exactly where you want it because it has to look good. So I wanted it centered on this wall. You do want to hang it up high to the ceiling, but you want to leave at least a 6-inch gap between the unit and the ceiling because it breathes from the top. I left about 10 inches, 10 or 11 inches, but I made sure I hung it exactly how I wanted it and ran the line set through the back of that interior wall there and had everything done and cleaned up, and I even put my wife's painting back up and her couch and everything and cleaned it all up, and that's step 3. And of course step 4 is to run the line set from your head unit to the outside of your house, which would involve drilling holes in the walls, in my case both walls, and connecting the electrical, the condensate tube, and both of your line set copper tubes to the stub outs in the head unit, and then have them go outside of the wall. Now, a couple tips on running the line set. Make sure the line set runs, and you can't tell because I'm pointing up at it, but it does slope slowly downward to the exterior wall. And of course, on the exterior wall side, it goes straight down, but you want it always sloping downward because there's a condensate tube in there that catches the water from the head unit and it has to drain it out of the side of the house. And so obviously you have to have a drop in that plumbing so that the drain smoothly runs to the outside. Now the line set that comes with each unit is 16 feet in its entirety. And of course you also run that drain tube and the wiring in between there as well. And everything's about 16 feet. One thing that this product doesn't come with is this add-on cover kit. I bought this at my local home improvement store, and this cover kit can go up to 14 feet. I think I only used, not even about half of that length to come out and just go straight down and then provide a nice clean look to the line set going out of the wall and down to the unit. So once you have your line set obviously run out of your house and you have the electrical and the drain tube as well as you have your electric box to supply the power to it, the next logical step is obviously to install the compressor unit. Now the first thing you're going to want to determine is where exactly do you want this. You could just put it on blocks on the ground if you want to, but because we are in a snowy environment, I decided I wanted it lifted up a little bit, a couple feet off the ground, and I bought another add-on product, which is this bracket right here, which it hangs on, and I'll provide a link to the Amazon product in the description. Okay, and of course, once our compressor unit is mounted, the next thing would be to do the electrical. And as you can see, coming out of my disconnect box, I've got the proper size wiring going through liquid tight conduit and fittings so that it's all safe and watertight, and that's going into the input. The input, again, is using liquid tight conduit, and I've run that up and inside about 1.5 feet or 2 feet inside of that tubing channel there, so everything is nice and tight and sealed, and we have all of our electrical done. Once we completed hooking up the power wires, now we get to the harder part, which is the HVAC side of things. So the first part of the HVAC thing would be to get our 2 different size tubes coming off of our line set and routing them into here. Now, of course, the line set comes at 16 feet, and one of the things that makes it DIY is the fact that we don't have to braze or solder that line set in on each side. Instead of that, we used flared fittings and that we just tighten in and seal up. Most of the time, you will likely have to trim down that 16 feet. And in fact, I had to trim down only about 2 feet of that line set. When you trim that down, you're going to need to re-flare the ends so that they fit properly onto the flared fittings. In order to do that, you will need a specialized tool. Now, in my case, I had this kind of cheap brake line style tool, but it has both 3/8 and 1/4 inch for our tubing sizes, and I was able to get the flare done with that cheap thing. Also, you'll need to cut the tubing. You'll still need a tubing cutter and a tubing reamer, so you'll need to understand how to do all that. When making your fittings, you will need to buy this. This is Nylog Blue, and it's also spoken about in the reference video. Don't use any standard thread locker or gas pipe dope. You have to use this on the threads because this is the only stuff that I'm aware of that's compliant and doesn't contaminate your refrigerant. Once you've finished sizing and connecting your line set to our service valves here, then we have to go to the vacuum process. So like it says in the reference video, you'll need 2 additional tools in order to complete this setup here. You'll need the vacuum pump and a gauge set. The vacuum pump is absolutely required. You might be able to get it done without the gauge set, but I'll explain why I recommend having both. Now the purpose of the vacuum pump is twofold. It is to vacuum down the line set to get rid of any non-compressible atmospheric air and moisture so that it gets replaced by your refrigerant. And then the second use of it is to make sure that our fittings are all sealed and there's no leaks. So as you saw in the reference video, you're going to use the vacuum pump for a minimum of 30 minutes. I think I did for probably 45. And by hooking up the low side gauge, you can determine that that vacuum is working because you can see where you go 0 to -30, and that -30 mark will give you your vacuum reading. So the gauge set will not only verify that the vacuum worked, But you can also, you'll turn off the vacuum like he mentions in the reference video, and you'll let it sit for about 30 to 45 minutes. By letting it sit and then verifying that when you come back, it's still at -30 on your gauge, that verifies that you have no leaks, because the vacuum would have escaped during that time if you had some leaks. At that point, you can address the leaks and pull vacuum again and confirm it. Without the gauge set, what you end up having to do is pull vacuum, trust it worked, and then like you see in the reference video, when you're ready to open the service valve up on the liquid line, you'll open it up for just about 5 seconds and then close it back off. That'll replace the vacuum with positive pressure on the refrigerant line, which again, if you have the gauges, you can verify it. If you don't have the gauge, you can't verify it. But once you open up that for about 5 seconds and you create positive pressure, if you don't have the gauge set to verify you don't have leaks, with the positive pressure in there, you can then spray some leak detector on it and then verify there are no bubbles being formed from the positive pressure escaping. And of course, once you've performed all those steps in the reference video and you did the initial 5-second opening of the liquid line and getting positive pressure in there and verifying that's holding, you can then open up both service valves and your refrigerant is fully released and ready to go. Okay, so there it is. Our install is finished. Now, as I said before, any of the gaps that I left in my video here will be filled in by that reference video, because the purpose of this video is just to do a quick overview of all the steps so that you're aware of what kind of skills, materials, and tools you're going to need to finish the installation. And of course, all the materials and tools that I referenced in this video will be linked in the video description so you know exactly where to get them. Now, a couple questions I'm going to answer before I get comments on them is, number one, how long did it take me? And number two, how much did it cost? I always get those type of questions on these type of videos, so I thought I'd answer them now. So first, how long did it take me? Well, I spent about 4 days on this thing in total. And realistically, I could get it done in one weekend, but I just wanted to take my time, do it casually and carefully, and so I did it on 4 different days across maybe 3 different weekends. Now, in terms of cost, I flashed up that Amazon link to the actual 9,000 BTU unit that I installed up above my head here, and of course that's retails at the moment for $699. If you wait and put it in your wish list and wait a couple months, you might see, like I did, a coupon deal for $50 to $70 off. Also, I happen to own all the tools that I showed you, the vacuum pump, the gauge set, the flaring tool, all that kind of thing. So I didn't have to buy any of the tools. All I had to do was purchase some of the additional materials, the line set cover, the mounting bracket for the compressor, and the electrical box and some other things. So I would say in all, I probably have under $800 invested in this thing. Like I said, if it lasts a while, then I definitely got the most bang for my buck. But if you didn't have any of the tools, I would imagine you could still probably get this whole thing done for about $1,000, because you could probably get all those tools for about $200 extra. All right, well, that's the video. Put a like on it, leave a comment if you have any more questions, and subscribe if you like DIY content like this. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.